You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust, I'll rise. If I find my way home, yeah. Hey, wouldn't it be crazy? Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Just because I walk as if I have oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my sassiness upset you? Don't take it so hard just because I laugh, as if I have gold mines digging in my own backyard. You can shoot me with your words, you can cut me with your lies, you can kill me with your hatefulness, but just like life, I'll rise.
Hello.
Hey, first section that we're going to do is entrepreneurship. And did you want to talk about the hair industry, women in entrepreneurship, or blacks in entrepreneurship?
It doesn't matter. Whatever you ask me is what I'm just gonna respond to for real. So.
Okay. Mix is a natural hair care business, so that's where I'm kind of going with trying to get questions and see how we can establish businesses for us and something that's beneficial to us as a community. Do you have a business?
I actually just started a beekeeping organization with some people in Tuskegee, and me and some of my friends are starting a nonprofit organization right now. So those are the two things that I have going on for real.
Okay, and what inspired you to start those businesses?
Really just my passion and love of what I do. I'm in agriculture, and so, you know, naturally as an entrepreneur, the thing that makes an entrepreneur an entrepreneur is they see something missing in their surrounding community or in the market that they have interacted with or know about, and then they just, you know what I'm saying, they become the trailblazer and decide to be the one to fill that gap. And so when it came down to like things like beekeeping and different things like that and sustainability, you know, I know that I know how to do those things. It's something that's important to me. It's something that in our community, especially amongst African Americans and African American women, these are things that really affect us at the end of the day. And so when we deal with these things, I just took everything that I love, like social justice and all those things, and put it together, and then it brought me to, you know, creating businesses and trying to be the gap and be that link in the gap that I saw.
Okay, I like that response. So do you identify with feminism or womanism?
I would say I'm a womanist.
Why do you feel that womanism is important, especially when you're trying to break into the business industry as an entrepreneur?
Well, I think first and foremost, the identification of the difference between womanism and feminism is like, for Black women, it's kind of like a personal label, I guess, for me, so I can understand who I'm dealing with and, you know what I'm saying, what they know. Like, it's an automatic marker for me. So when it comes down to business and networking and things like that, you naturally want to do business, you know, with the people that you identify with. You want to do business with the people that are in your own community, because if they succeed, then you succeed, and vice versa. And so I think being a womanist, or, you know, some women consider themselves just Black feminists. I guess I don't really, you know, believe it that way, but, you know, however people choose to identify, as long as you're committed to whatever you're identifying with, you know what I mean, then I don't really see an issue with it. And so through those connections of Black women, understanding our experience is different from other people's experience, it allows us to cater to each other more specifically, and it's more targeted, and it's more, you know what I mean, it's just that more genuine feel of what you get. It's like eating food served with love and then food served without love. You know, you can't put your finger on it, but you know it's something missing.
reading yesterday, somebody said in the first world, we don't really need to, I guess, fight for women's issues because men and women are equal. And I don't believe that. How do you, like, where do you stand on that?
I think the simple fact that we are not equal is the reason to fight for it. You know what I mean? And so we can look at ancient societies when everything was in balance and everything was cool and say, oh, we don't need to fight for women's rights because it wasn't an issue in those times, you know, especially when it was a matriarch and women were the ones making the rules. And when it wasn't matriarch, you know what I'm saying, you didn't really have this discrimination of so many different people because I just feel like I don't want to say I feel like we're more inclusive than men are, but, you know, it's just something that this society that we live in this day and age, it teaches people to not be inclusive. It teaches people to only watch out for yourself, and that's just not the nature of women, especially in the Black community. We have always been that mother figure. We have always been the one to hold everybody down. And so to say that we don't need to fight for women's rights, if you're not fighting for the rights of Black women, you're not fighting for the rights of anybody, honestly.
What do you feel makes men and women not equal in society, and how do you feel like that can affect you or motivate you as an entrepreneur to work harder?
Oh, well, definitely when it comes down to like the wage gap and things like that, and even I think society breeds a thought process of inequality, and so when you try and search for that, even women, you know what I'm saying, Black men have a habit of, you know what I'm saying, asserting themselves over Black women. But then Black women, we've been taught to kind of accept that in a way. So it's kind of like people are throwing stones at us, but we just keep letting it happen. You know what I mean?
Okay, so you're saying that they're throwing these stones at us. And I'm saying, how can that motivate you as an entrepreneur?
Oh, well, I mean, it's simple. It's for me, it's just waking up and feeling like, okay, what am I going to do today? Every day that I wake up is motivation to keep going. Just because people are mad, people have always been mad. People are always going to be mad. And, you know, one of my favorite artists, you know, Bob Marley said the evil in this world is not taking a day off, and I shouldn't either. So if I'm truly committed to what I say I'm committed to, then regardless of all the forces that are against me, I'm still going to do what I want to do because that's where my passion lies. That's what I love.
Hello.
Hey, this is Giovanna.
Hi, Giovanna.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. As a Black career woman, how do you feel having kids will impact your business if this is something that you want to continue doing years down the road?
I've actually thought about that. I don't know, really, because I'm still at the age where I'm trying to figure things out. And I haven't really gotten to that point where I thought about that yet. But I would have to say if I did, I feel like, me personally, I try to make every obstacle help me out in a certain type of way, or I try to change it into a positive thing. So I would say if I did have a business and I had a kid, I would try to incorporate my business into my child's life or my child into my business so that they can both go hand in hand, because I know, especially now with social media, it's easier to do that. And I guess I know a lot of people on social media, they have kids on their social media sites or whatever, and it's like I wouldn't want to interfere with my child's life, so say, but I would want to incorporate that into my business plan. So then I would say I would open up to doing children's hair, and I would show children's hairstyles, and I would use my child as a model, I would say, or I would just somehow incorporate it. I would try to keep both at the same time, because if you think about it, they're both creations that you have made. So it's like you don't really want to you can't get rid of, let's say, but you wouldn't want to have to forfeit your business or anything. So I would just try to incorporate it into my child's life. But if not, then definitely I would do what's best for my child at first.
business field, do you think that there are some obstacles you have to overcome as a woman?
In the business world?
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I guess it would be, I guess in the business world, I would say people don't take you seriously as a woman. Because I know there are a lot of double standards, even though I haven't come to this point yet where I've been in the business world and I've dealt with these double standards, but I just know that they're out there. And I would say the only thing I would probably have to deal with once I get there is proving myself to people that think I can't do it, or trying to state my opinion or state my goals to people and try to make them believe what I believe, or believe that I can do what I plan to do. So I think that is the only obstacle that like women really face in the business world, is trying to get their opinion and their facts across to other people, and for other people to support them.
And do you think as your business grows that you have to expand your target market, or do you think you can reach success with just focusing on a niche market?
I'm sorry, can you say the second part again? Do I think that I could focus?
I said, do you think you can reach success with just focusing on a specific niche market, or do you think that you will have to expand your target market?
I think any good business has to expand in order to get better. So I would say I would have to expand. I would say your audience changes. So I would have to expand to whoever my audience is at that particular time.
And what role do you think affirmative action should play into businesses?
Ooh, that's a good question. Okay, wait, before I answer that, is that a thing? Can they do that?
I was talking to somebody else and they said that we just need like more opportunities. And you know how we have the UNCF Coke program to kind of help Black entrepreneurs. So I guess that's kind of where I'm approaching it.
Oh, okay. Oh, that would be beautiful. Like, I really wish they could do that. Okay, now say the question again.
Should there be more inclusion for minorities and women?
I think there definitely should, like you said. Maybe it should start in college. So, like, they should have more scholarship programs that integrate college students that are in entrepreneurship programs or into entrepreneurship, and maybe that can be the step stool for them getting into entrepreneurship or getting into the business world. But because African American students and women don't get the same opportunities as other students, so I think if they can have a business version of the affirmative action, that would be great, because it would give a lot more people opportunities to things that they never have the chance to do. And even though we all have like great minds and great ideas, sometimes we're not allowed to share them because we're not even heard.
Do you believe that having children distracts you from having a career?
It's a challenge when you have children, because you want to give your all at work, but then you also have your family. And if you give your all at work, you sometimes might neglect your family. And women that are CEOs of companies are seen as masculine because they're a boss. And back in the day, the boss was the man. And they're not seen as feminine because they have to act a certain way as a businesswoman. You have to have a no-care attitude in order for your business to stay afloat. And I think it's a conflicting time for women having careers and being a mother. You feel guilty when you're working, but you also feel happy when you're able to pay the bills, feed your children, take them on trips to Disneyland, Disney World, or it pays off having your career. So it has advantages and disadvantages.
Do you think that women have to have squeaky clean records when trying to infiltrate male-dominated industries?
I believe they do, And I believe it's the same for black people as well. You have to be perfect to break that glass ceiling, because it's a white, male-dominated business world. And they don't want to let their power go. They don't want to see a woman succeed. It's intimidating to them to see a woman who's successful. And a lot of times women might know more than a man, and a man doesn't want to admit that. He wants to think that he knows everything and she knows nothing. And men of power still see women as a secretary, or if it's a hospital, they still see her as the nurse. You can't be a doctor. You know, doctors are men. So, or a plumber or a construction worker. We have women working in male-dominated fields now, and some men don't like it. And they don't want them to have equal pay. If the woman is doing the same job as a man, the woman gets paid less. A man makes $1 and she might make 70 cents. You know, I'm just, you know what I'm saying.
Like, estimated.
Yeah.
When it's the feelings I wear.
Hunter Haymore has a business called Hair Hunters that she runs on the campus of Spelman College. And the reason that I sought her out to do this interview for the hair industry is to get a realistic perspective from an entrepreneur in the hair industry, to give readers or potential readers some more context on who Monique is. Have your own personal beliefs or experiences with hair influenced your business?
My own personal beliefs and experiences have influenced my business a lot. So my life actually has influenced my business plan. I lost my hair at the age of 14 due to chemotherapy, and that was to cure me from sickle cell disease. And after I lost my hair due to chemo, that actually sparked my love for hair. So my interest in hair grew, and I began doing hair for my friends and family, and then once I found that I was actually good for it and I had a niche for hair, I started doing it as a hobby, and then that actually turned into a business plan.
What challenges have you had to overcome through your business?
Through my business, I have had to overcome, I don't know, that's a hard question. Okay, can you give me an example of, like, what you mean by, like, life in general, or just with my business per se?
Well, either one, just anything that you had to, I guess, any personal dilemmas or external dilemmas that could have affected your business.
I would say the one thing that has affected my business is it's affected and helped at the same time. So it's a bittersweet thing. Is actually being in school, being a college student, has affected my business, because there are times when I have clients that will ask me to do their hair, and I can't because of school, or I'll have a prior. I'll have something to do before that, an assignment, or what's the word I'm looking for? I have prior responsibilities that come before, I would say, per se, my client. So it hinders me, but then it helps me, because most of my clients come from school. Most of my clients are my peers, and most of my clients are in my class. However, sometimes there are things that come before your clients, which are school, work, making sure you have all your personal things done first. And I would say that's the only thing that hinders my business. But other than that, nothing else really.
And what made you really want to do this business specifically?
Specifically, I would say it's that this is the only thing that I do. Like, they say, you're happy in the place that you're in when you can do what you do, and you know that you would do it even if you didn't get paid for it. So it's like, doing hair is something that I can do even if I didn't get paid for it. And it's like, that's really the only thing that I can do, knowing that I'm happy and I'm satisfied with. And it's like, it makes me happy to do it. All I do is think about hair. I dream about hair, sleep, eat, breathe hair. So it's like, I knew it was time for me to make a business out of it once I realized that that was my passion.
And what made you actually start the business? I know a lot of people have plans for starting a business, but what made you go take the next step and have the business running?
What's so funny is that me personally, I didn't see it as a business at first. I think other people made me realize that I had a business. At first, I would just do it, and then my friends would be like, "Oh, I'll pay you to do my hair," and I'd be like, "Okay," but it never clicked to me that I had a business until my mom was like, "Hunter, you can make a business out of this. You can do this." And I was like, "It's not a business." And she was like, "Hunter, yes, it is. An exchange for money is a business." So I didn't realize that what I was doing was a good or a service to people. It was just what I like to do. So I didn't even realize that it was a business. Somebody had to bring it to my attention that what I was doing was a business. And that's when I decided to keep going with it. And I was like, "Oh, I can do this for real. Oh, I need to market myself. Oh, I need to do this. I need to do that to appeal to more customers."
What have you learned from your business?
I've learned a lot, especially with the COPE UNCF program. They've taught me a lot too. I've learned that you are, well, I don't want to say you are your business, but okay, I've learned that if you're you always have to market yourself to people. Like recently, I go to a girls' school, and it's like whenever people talk about hair, if I don't interject and say, "Oh, I do hair," or "Oh, I can help you with that," or "Oh, I can make you a wig," or "I can do that for you," then you're losing out on something for your personal brand, and you're losing out for your business. So having a business and going to an all-girls school has taught me that you are always advertising for yourself. If you hear something that somebody's talking about and you can help them, tell them. Make it known. Make it a fact. So it's like that's what I've learned by having a business is that there's never a wrong time to tell people what you do or advertise yourself or market yourself to them.
Hey, let's do it. Look, black is beautiful, shawty, that you should know. Don't let American standards damage your African soul. Natural hair over the weave under. I buy you Givenchy rags and wrap it neat for you. I wrap a piece of...
Born in Afro to work, and I was received warmly by my colleagues. I had lost my hair and it was growing back, so they encouraged me to wear the afro instead of wearing a wig. They say you should just wear your hair, your natural hair. So I would say in my profession, it's been accepted.
Why do you think that it was important for Monique to start Mo's Mix?
Because she wanted women to love their hair. She wanted women to be proud of your hair, whether it's kinky, curly, or straight. She wanted them to have pride in their hair. And basically that's it. She wanted them to love their hair. And she wanted their hair to be accepted. And she knew there was a need for natural hair care products. A lot of the products you see in the store are geared for European women.
Have there been moments when you felt like your natural hair was ugly because of how society treats natural hair?
I did. Yes, that's why I said it takes courage to wear natural hair. But I'm seeing a lot of women wear their hair natural now. They're moving away from the perms and they're going natural because it's healthier for your hair. She knew there was a need for black hair care products, and I believe because of her upbringing, she didn't have everything that she needed when she was a child, and she wanted to create something where she could make a lot of money, I guess, to have a career and to be a CEO, so she could have a nice life, I guess. She was college educated, and when you're college educated, you get more opportunities than you would if you didn't have a college degree. So I think it's a good thing that she started her own business, and I think she's an inspiration for other young black women who are, don't know what they want to do when they get older. But if they see someone like Monique, then that's something for them to strive for. And we might have other small businesses being created by other young girls.
And one of the reasons that I chose to make Mo's Mix about a hair care business is simply because I went natural when I was a freshman at Tuskegee University. And I took the things that I was learning by going natural and I put them into the book. And one of the things that Monique goes through in Mo's Mix specifically is her hair falling out, which was what happened to me. So when I was a freshman, my hair actually did fall out, and it was very traumatizing because I honestly didn't know what to do. And after that, I started wearing a scarf around my hair, and a lot of people asked me, why'd you do that? And one friend asked me, was it for religious purposes? But it wasn't. It was because I didn't really know what to do, and in some ways, I felt ashamed of my natural hair, and that's why I chose to write the book, to show that you should embrace who you are, and you should just love who you are no matter what package it comes in. Because a lot of times when people go natural, they see these other natural girls and they kind of get a vision for how they want their natural hair to be, and oftentimes it's not even like that. And you just have to learn to love your natural hair and its texture and however it's going to be. And as I've taken this natural journey, there have been a lot of lessons, a lot of times where I've had to remotivate myself because honestly, it's not easy. And then in Mo's Mix, Monique wears a scarf a lot, which was parallel to what I was doing. And I just felt like sometimes I was hiding behind the scarf. And in Mo's Mix, Andre, Monique's boyfriend, asked her, are you really going to continue hiding behind that scarf? And really, Andre in that moment was speaking as my conscience. And Monique got upset at him, but deep down she knew that it was true. And this is not to say that everyone who wears a scarf on their hair is hiding, but for me, that's what it was, essentially. It was a way to hide, because for most of my freshman year, I was either wearing a scarf, a hat, or something else, because I was ashamed of my natural hair because I didn't know how to love it, and I didn't know why to love it, or why I should have loved it. And a lot of that played into Mo's Mix, and it was just a journey about loving yourself and loving your hair. And Monique's mother asked her, how do you have a whole line of hair care products, but you don't even know how to take care of your hair? And that's the conundrum. So for Monique, Mo's Mix is basically about learning, and it's about challenging yourself to go further. Because honestly, she has a problem with her natural hair, and it's just like she has to tell herself, we're going to do this. We're going to love the hair that God made. And not everyone goes through this. Some people just embrace their natural hair because they were taught that their natural hair is beautiful, but others, like Monique and like myself, were never taught that. So they have to learn that. They have to re-socialize themselves to see their natural hair as something beautiful as well. And it's all a journey. And
ladies and gentlemen, Marsha Ambrosius, Lettuce, Kelly Price, and Jill Scott. My skin is black,
is strong, strong enough to take the pain inflicted again and again. What do they call me? My name is
that Mo's Mix is a natural hair care business is to embrace that part of the natural journey, the loving part. But to take it a step further, the reason that I decided to make it a business, because it could have just been Monique loving her hair in her everyday life. But I chose to make it a business to show that she was dedicated to what she was doing. And in some ways, Mo's Mix, the business, parallels Mo's Mix, the book. So in the same way that I'm challenging myself with this book to love my natural hair, Monique is challenging herself with that business to love her natural hair. So everything kind of parallels. Mo's Mix is to Monique as Mo's Mix is to me, if you understand what I mean. So those were two of the primary reasons that it's about hair and it's about a business, because of my journey with natural hair and because I wanted to constantly challenge myself. And then the hair plays into it because hair is such a central part of the African American experience, especially the African American woman's experience. We as Black women have had to learn we have had to learn to love ourselves and these features, and this has taken years for us to just learn to love ourselves, and it's kind of disrespectful for other races to just want to come at the end after we've gone through the journey. They just want to come at the end and take credit for something that's not theirs. And they say, oh, well, you shouldn't tell people how to wear their hair, and they feel like we're policing the hair. But to us, it's more than just a lifestyle. It's a part of our being, and we had to go through the denigration of the hair, but you want to come at the end and then do the appropriation. Yeah, I know that rhyme. It's the poet in me. But it's just kind of irritating, for lack of a better word. It's just irritating for other people to want to take credit at the end, even though they didn't have to go through the trials and tribulations that we went through. Because for women of other races, when did they have to wear their hair another way? When was it required for them to wear their hair in African American hairstyles? For us, we had to wear our hair in European hairstyles at one point if we wanted to get a job, if we wanted to be socially acceptable, if we wanted to be legal, because at some point Black hair was treated as if it was illegal, and it's just annoying. And it's just like, you have to understand what we've been through and why we're like this. And you can't just say cultural appropriation is not real, because it is, because it does happen, because we've witnessed it. You cannot invalidate our experiences just because you don't understand it. And that's the problem. And that's why we fight so hard. And that's why we would probably say we're more so womanist than feminist, because feminism really was not devised for Black women, honestly. Feminism was devised for middle-class white women who felt that they were being oppressed by the white man, which in some ways was true. But at the end of the day, some of those feminists were not interested in the liberation of Black people. So because Black women have the race card and the woman card compounded, they have to have something that's specially made for them. And that's women of color in general, but I'm focusing specifically on Black women. And that's another reason why I wanted to do this book about a hair care business, is because Monique being a CEO is kind of taking that womanism and putting it at the forefront. And another thing that happened during my freshman year was I wrote an article with a history professor about womanism, and it was about Anna Julia Cooper and why she was a womanist as opposed to a feminist. And I also read about Alice Walker and other amazing Black women, and it was just inspiring. And I just really got into womanism and got into women's empowerment, especially Black women's empowerment. And it was just all culminated into this book, Mo's Mix and Mo's Mix Queendom. And if you read those books, you'll kind of see the lessons that I learned from working with that professor, from going natural, and everything that I experienced my freshman year really went into those novels. autobiography. In some ways, it is. Because like I said, many of the things Monique experiences do reflect on things that I've experienced. But in the same context, it's not an autobiography because Monique is 27. I was 19 when I wrote Mo's Mix, and I was 20 when I wrote Mo's Mix Queendom. So I'm not at that age yet, but it's something that I can strive to in starting a business and trying to build that business and grow that business. And then also Monique gets pregnant, she gets engaged, and a lot of other things that have not happened for me yet. I don't know when, if they'll happen, but it's just something to think about. So I guess in a way Monique is like me, a future version of myself, in a way that I could grow and become another version of me, but she is not me right now, so it's not autobiographical. What are your personal stances on marriage and children? Personally, I've grown up thinking that marriage is supposed to be like this fairy tale, this thing that you should strive to, that marriage is like the best thing to happen to you. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that we as women put a lot of emphasis on getting married, on finding Mr. Right, and in all of that, we kind of lose ourselves. So when I got into my first relationship, I got into it thinking, this is going to be my husband. And of course, I was only 16 at the time, so that was naive. But some people do find love at 16 years old. But for me, it wasn't going to be that. And I think we just put too much emphasis on this fairy tale. Now, if it happens, if I do get engaged and I do get married, that's great. But I feel like we shouldn't make it the end of the world if it doesn't happen for us, because there are still some women who are not married, who don't have children, but they are still happy, because marriage and children should not be the defining point of your happiness. The defining point of your happiness should be finding yourself and finding peace with yourself. That's my whole thing on it, my whole perspective. And children, well, honestly, it's just like with marriage. I thought, oh, I want to have 4 kids. I want to be married when I'm 25 and all this stuff. But now I'm 21 and I'm just thinking, I don't know if that's going to happen in 4 years, because I still have a lot of growing up to do inside myself, and I still have a lot of things that I want to do personally in my life before I want to get married. So as I got older, I decided that I want to have my career in place before I find a husband. It's just something that I want to do so that I can just provide something for my child, because I guess in my mind it's going to be husband and children and, you know, all that good stuff. And I don't know if that's going to happen like that. I don't know what God has planned, but honestly, I just want to focus on something other than marriage, because I feel like women get distracted by these ideas about marriage and children, so that we don't chase our dreams, we don't pursue our passions, because we're so worried about a man. Maybe it's the womanist politics in me, but it's just like, we shouldn't plant ourselves inside a man. We should plant ourselves inside ourselves and let ourselves blossom. That's my hope.
In itself, it's a constant job, even when you have your own business or work for a company. When my children were small, I worked a teaching job 8 to 3, so we got out at the same time. What I've learned from my children is that their personalities are similar to their parents, yet they have their own mind and own. I learned that they are just trying to find themselves, and their lives don't always reflect what their parents had planned, but it's their life to live, and they must make mistakes to grow.
How has motherhood personally affected you?
My children are one of the reasons when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I chose to do surgery, chemo, and radiation because I wanted to live for them. I want to live to see my grandchildren one day, to see them graduate college, get married, get jobs in their own place. I think as a parent, I grew up and put my childish young adulthood aside.
Monique and Andre get married, but she chooses to hyphenate her last name instead of taking his last name. Why do you think this was important for her and for women in general?
I think Monique wants to express her independence, and she doesn't want to forget where she came from, and her name is important to her because she had her business, and she had her business before she was married. So people know her by her maiden name, and a lot of entertainers keep their maiden names as well because they've established themselves as a person before the marriage, and marriage is just an extension of themselves. But that doesn't mean she loves Andre any less just because she hyphenated her name.
Do you think her being pregnant influences her decision to marry Andre?
She loved Andre from the beginning. I think there was a bump in the road when she got pregnant. They weren't prepared for it. He stepped up and asked her to marry him, and she at first did not want to have the baby. So if she didn't have the baby, I think they wouldn't have gotten married. And I think it was a good decision for them to get married. He's a good person. He supported her throughout her trials and tribulations with her business. And he's basically her soulmate. She sometimes can be a little selfish, but he still loves her anyway.
What do you think motivates her to accept his marriage proposal? You said she was kind of hesitant at first. What do you think really changes her mind besides her being pregnant?
I think the fact that he puts her first. He prepares dinner for her. He's not chauvinistic. He doesn't think that she should be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen somewhere. He allows her to have her career.
Barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen?
Well, that's how some chauvinistic men think. That women should not work. Women should, like Donald Trump.
I mean, what does that mean? Is that like a phrase? Like a
It is a phrase. Yeah.
Barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen? I've never heard of that.
Well, maybe they don't always say in the kitchen. But he's not chauvinistic. And he allows her to have her career and her independence. She's allowed to do what she wants with her own money. And basically, I think he's good for her.
Because you know how James and Andre don't really see eye to eye. Why do you think it is that they constantly clash?
Yeah, I think Andre is a real man. I think that James was not a man at the time. He was acting like an immature boy. But he was never going to marry Camille in the first place. So, and I think that's where Andre differs from him. Andre was always going to marry Monique because Andre always loved Monique. Whether she's pregnant or not, he would have still married her.
So do you think James loves Camille?
Here with you. It's right here with you. Folded clothes, watching Netflix, catching up on us.
That I chose to go this route instead of another route because I have other stories that I've written and may eventually publish, but I chose to go this route was because I wanted to do something focusing on African American history, because another thing that Tuskegee exposed me to was the beauty of African American history, and I already knew that Black was beautiful. But it was just that being at Tuskegee just reaffirmed that. It just made you feel that Black is beautiful because you were surrounded by all these college educated individuals, and you just continue to learn that there is Black excellence. It exists in many forms, in many shapes, and that just inspired me to want to write this book. So these were just a few of the questions that I was asked after publishing Mo's Mix and Mo's Mix Queendom, and I just felt like I needed to answer. It's just things that I'm going to constantly be asked as I continue growing in my career as an author, and in my career as an entrepreneur, and in my career as a poet. And that's just, I guess that's my whole message to women. It's just don't limit yourself. You can be complex. You can be whole housewife, mother, CEO, visionary, poet, entrepreneur, yada yada yada. You can be whatever you want to be, and you do not have to limit yourself just because of what society tells you. It's what you tell you that shall ultimately matter. And like I said, this might be the womanist politics because of my experiences, but this is just my perspective on how I feel that women can empower themselves.